Yo, what's up? How's it going? Are you a non-technical startup founder? This is especially for you. I've been talking to a couple people who will not be named for privacy about some of the issues they're dealing with. And I was like, I wrote an article about this about a year ago, and I feel like I just really need to so many people deal with hiring when it comes to not being able to hire technical people when you're non-technical, when you need to do something technical. And so many people deal with this, and I'm always like, well, I don't know, maybe you should get technical. No. In the back of my mind, I'll be thinking that, and then I'm like, that's not truly fair. That's not fair. Really, you do need to hire for things. You need to hire for the things you don't know. And partially what I do want to focus on in this video is how do you actually hire for the things you don't know? And what does it mean to actually be a CTO versus a software engineer? And the reason I know this is because I've been a software engineer for about a decade, and I have my own software development company where I work with a lot of startups. I've worked with a lot of startups, a lot of different companies, New York Times, Shapeways, Business Insider, and well, those are larger, but like companies in the startup phase as well. And I've seen a lot of the issues when it comes to, is this CTO competent, or is he competent in his position, or is he competent with his technical knowledge? These are two different things. And the position takes priority typically, because then the reason, and well, let me get into it. Actually, I'm going to get into that later. I have to get into that. That's probably the most important part of the video. But first, let's just start off with why your situation sucks. Okay, just want to make sure you guys can see the screen. Why is your situation? You're a non-technical startup founder. You're confused. Your business partner's confused. You want to build something, and you're like, I have no idea how to vet a software engineer. So let's actually just talk about the problem. Start. By the way, I draw stuff and my drawings are a little retarded, but that's okay. All right. I mostly do stick figurines. Okay. So, all right. So your problem as a startup founder, non-technical startup founder, your problem. Let's see. You need to get technical stuff done, but don't know how. You you need to hire, but you cannot vet because you don't have a you don't actually have a company yet. So you're starting the company now. It's just you. So there's no one to vet anyone. There's no actual knowledge in the technology. So you have to find a way to vet. So you're already in this paradoxical situation where you have to do something that is pretty much you're unable to do, right? So you have to be resourceful in these situations. So let me just make a because I know what people are already thinking. Oh, you just find someone who's a software engineer and you get them to lead your product. You get a CTO, right? So what do I do? Let's actually draw a little guy. Let's draw a little guy. Let's draw a little guy. How many stick figures have I made on these videos? All right, let's draw a guy right here. Big ol' eyes. He's new. He's a new startup founder. He's so happy. He's super. Look at how happy he is. He even has a little top hat too. Look at that. He's Amish for whatever reason. Look at that. He's happy. He's a startup founder. This is you. This is you. You're new. You're fresh. You're green. New startup founder. Okay, so They're like, "What do I do? I need tech." Okay, so here's where everyone fails. You see that companies, you want a company, and you see that these companies have CTOs, right? And you from the start want to have a CTO and you want to have a company and a business, but you don't understand that y- software, and to get a CTO, you want to hire a software engineer, right? But what you don't understand is the software engineers are not CTOs. You have access to software engineers. Most likely. Most likely, you don't have access to seasoned Fortune 500 CTOs. You have access to going on LinkedIn, contacting a ton of software engineers, right? Software engineers are not CTOs, okay? And this Amish guy's mistake, his first mistake is he's going to think that he's not going to understand this and he's going to hire the first mistake. I've seen this so many times. Is you hire a software engineer to do a CTO's job. Then you give equity. Actually, let's just say that's the first mistake. Let's talk about why this is a mistake. Because this is what everyone thinks. You say, "Oh, I'm going to go find like a senior engineer who's very technically competent. I'm going to find this person. I'm going to go on LinkedIn. I'm going to contact him. We're going to develop a relationship. I'm going to get them in on the business, in on the vision and the product. And then what's going to happen? Then you essentially just hired someone. You think you hired a founder, but you just hired an IC because the person has only ever been an IC, individual contributor. People just talk, understand? Technical vetting is about getting through the bullshit, right? That's the main thing, the main thing. So, okay, the first mistake you do is you hire a software engineer to do a CTO's job, and that's okay because we all make mistakes. Here's why that sucks. Here's why that sucks. You want to know why that sucks? It's so funny. Like I like kind of. I'm like, you see how I'm like just using this like drawing program right now? Isn't that funny? In the beginning, the first streams, I was so bad with these drawing programs, but now I'm just like I'm just I'm flowing. All right. So here's what happens. Typically, so you might get lucky, but I'm going to talk about what typically is going to happen when you do this, right? Typically, what's going to happen is they don't take ownership. So you give them equity to be a co-founder. They are CTO. If you're starting a company and you have a CTO, that CTO is a co-founder and they have equity. Big problem is they don't take ownership. And we'll get into why. And then, by the way, I'm not like dogging software engineers. I'm a software engineer. I'm not like on a team here trying to like say anyone's bad. It's all about the position. A lot of the dynamics in the world, but a lot of the dynamics when it comes to like just money, resources, the way society's set up, these are relationships that exist. Boss, employee, that's a relationship. Doesn't matter what people really want in the end of the day, the relationship exists. These two things have a conflict, right? The employee and the business owner are always at conflict. The CTO or the software engineer is always going to have a conflict with who's setting the rules and who's giving the product descriptions, right? So when you're like, is this guy really like trying hard? Like we're giving him these tasks to do, but I feel like it's taking time. You don't understand that it's like that's the relationship. So the reason why software engineers are not CTOs is because you have a different relationship with your CTO than you do with a software engineer. Okay? Don't just hire a software engineer to do a CTO's job. The CTO can be a very competent software engineer, but you have to understand they're getting into a primarily leadership position. They're not getting into a primarily uh, in nitty gritty technical position. That's a reality. Okay, so they don't take ownership. The main reason why you want them is so they can own the tech. Okay, and we're going to talk about like one reason why this isn't the worst thing to do, but you will have to deal with it eventually, right? So so he treats the position as an IC role or contracted role. So like often when you just are only vetting, is this guy a software engineer? Can he get us from point A to point B? Which is what a software engineer can do. When you're only vetting that and you're not vetting the totality, like, is this person a good CTO? You're getting someone who's going to treat the role as an IC. And you can own a lot of stuff when it comes to being a good software engineer. You can take ownership over a lot of stuff. But Will, schemology is tomorrow. We have like conflict. That's why I'm doing this stream, is because yeah, we're doing schemology tomorrow. It'll be a fun one. It'll be a fun one. Right now, you're getting some actual. This is like your school, okay? This is actual education. All right, don't go to school. Just listen to this stream, okay? This is this is far more valuable than your like whatever home ec class you're about to go to. What do you guys do in school? I didn't do that. I went straight into the magic. Okay, so he treats the position as an IC role or contracted role. So often people like you think, oh yeah, this guy's like getting after it and he cares and all that, and you're like, yeah, like he seems like he's a CTO and it seems good in the beginning, but the follow through isn't there. And they may get you from point A to point B, but it's like the communication's off. There's something that isn't working, and it's often because there's a mental shift that isn't happening because they're still operating as you give me the things to do and then I'll do it. It's not a CTO. CTO, and we'll get into the differences in a bit, but I'm going to get more into the problems right now. So, okay, so you have to manage them like an IC. This is real talk. A lot of people won't want to hear this because you're too much on teams. You're like, no, but you're being anti my team of software engineers. I don't give a fuck. It's not about teams, okay? It's about what gets results, right? So another thing, you don't trust them because you didn't really vet them. Another issue here. We'll get into the vetting. We'll get into the vetting a little bit later. Okay, so here's like a few things that are typically the problem. Okay, these are typically the problem. So you're a non-technical founder. Oh wait, I didn't message the chat about this. Sorry, people. The 1 second, I gotta message my. I just started streaming without messaging the chat. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, uh, I'm talking about why founders can't hire founders suck at vetting software engineers or vetting CTOs. Okay, 1 second. Thrilling content. Uh, All right. Okay. So, okay. We're back. So so let's just go an overview. So you're a new startup founder. You're happy. What happens is this turns into sadness. Okay. This turns into a frown. You become very sad and depressed because your product is going way slow. Still have a top hat, which is the only good thing, but you're still sad, right? You're still sad because your product, you don't trust your CTO, and you think it's their problem when really it's your problem. You chose to hire someone on a faulty pretense. You made a decision to hire someone that you didn't vet and give them a lot of ownership over something that really it's you owning it, right? Like sometimes these people will get 20%, 15, 10 to 20% equity, these CTOs, but they'll still be operating like some guy you hired, right? It's your problem. You got it because you made the problem. You didn't properly vet. So let's get rid of all this shit and let's get into what's up. Like why is this? Let's get to the core of the issue. Software engineers. If you're not a technical founder, listen up. Listen up. Very important. And then we get CTOs. Okay. Software engineers, CTOs. What's the difference? Okay. So software engineers are they get you from point A to point B. That's what both of these people do that. See? It's all about the method, right? The software engineer gets you from point A to point D. They are hired to have knowledge on how to build stuff and they build the stuff and they get results, right? That's great, but you have a business that needs longevity and it needs ownership and the reason why we can't just stop here is because and this is a real big difference is that the A to B is okay for the easiest part of the business. It sucks for scale. So when you want to actually get scale, because you by the way, you can validate your product and all that without really anybody, honestly. Like you can validate, especially in the software space, you can validate a lot of stuff being very lean as a non-technical founder. That's kind of the hardest part. That's like the you're weeding out the 99% of people who can't even do a business, right? But once you're actually hiring to get something technical and you have funding, get something technical built and you have funding, the hard part is not that first, like, let's actually get the first V0. The hard part is how do you iterate over that and scale to a point where you can develop a moat and you can not only have that advantage, but be able to scale your operation fast enough in order to beat your competition, right? Well, efficiently and fast enough. So you have to you have to be able to do the easy stuff efficiently, but the hard stuff, which is what the CTO gives you, which is the scale, the efficiency over time, that's the long term, and that's the hard part. So yeah, get you from point A to point B is fine, but the CTO Let's actually talk about the CTO gives you infrastructure and scale, hires for what he can't do, not just for speed. Because sometimes people were like, "Oh yeah, they hire. They have these contractors, like the non-technical founder." Like I'll talk to a non-technical founder, but yeah, they hired and all this stuff, and that's cool. Did they just hire for stuff that they could do, but they didn't? They wanted to delegate, right? Which is fine. Which is fine, especially if you're hiring a contractor to do something to get stuff done to go from point A to point B, right? No, no, no. The CTO needs to hire. They can do that, but what they need to do is they need to learn how to hire for what they can't do, or already know how to do that because they're experienced. Because that's what's going to give you the true hierarchy and structure you need for your business to grow and to get scale. Because scale is all about leadership development and entrepreneurship. So the CTO actually does that. Okay, so they actually lead the product. And then, by the way, I know people are probably wincing, but they lead in product and technology. They do lead in product early on, not like early on when it's just you and like another person and a CTO. They're leading in the product. Okay, it's you, like you own it, like it's your vision, but the day to day decisions, it's almost like they're like the VP of the product. A lot of the times they have to be making these quick decisions on own that, and you have to trust them to do that, so that the people they wind up hiring can, like, they can manage them without playing like game of telephone where they have to constantly come to you, and then yada yada yada. um Cool, cool. We good? We good? Anyone got questions? Okay. So we got a lot more to go. If you're non-technical, very good for you. This is very good for you. This is if you're just a startup founder, like, guys, I've seen this break down a lot. Okay. Like I've seen this break. I mean, I've made bad decisions like when it comes to this. I've like this is something that plays startups because it's always there's a trust issue, and let's get into that. It's someone you trust who is on your team. And when I say trust, people get, you don't need to, this doesn't need to be someone that you're going to like trust to marry your daughter. Okay. That's not what I mean. Is like there's a basic element of work where you do trust someone's ability to get a job done. So you don't have to handhold. Okay. That's what I mean. Okay. It's someone who's on your team. You know how you have you and your co-founder and you're trying to do something? The CTO is there, right? So like let's map this out. So like well, I can't make circles apparently. Don't listen to anything I said because I can't make a fucking circle. Jesus. Okay, so you have the co-founders, right? And then you have a little bubble. I don't even know if you is my thing covering this. And then you have a little bubble, which is going to be the CTOs, or sorry, not the CTO, the software engineer, right? And you guys communicate. Okay, you go back and forth, right? Let me just see if that's yeah. Okay, you can see that. So like that's a situation, right? So what I'm saying is the CTO is in here. Okay, they're in this box. I'm trying to make it like trying to make it simple. Like they're not in the another box. You understand? They're in your box. They're not in another box. This isn't like you making like, it's great to make the product description, the PRDs or whatever you're doing. It's good to do that. It's good to make your tech specs. It's good to communicate all these things and document everything. But if you find yourself having to go to treating this software engineer that you hired as a CTO as someone you're just tossing docs to, and then he does things like he's an API, okay? If you're in that situation, you're gonna have a really bad time. That's not a situation for longevity, okay? That's from getting from point A to point B, but B to C is the hard part, okay? And B to C isn't going to work if you do that, right? You need someone who's in your box, okay? Where you guys can come together and vet new people because that's how you get real growth, right? As we just discussed earlier, is when you hire for what you don't know, is that's how you get the growth, okay? So let's actually focus on, and by the way, I'm not dogging software engineers here, but this is a valid thing because there's a reason why you need a CTO. There's a reason why you need someone who is a leader on your team. There's a reason why it exists. Okay. So part of what, let's just take a step back here. Part of what people mess up with, which is fine, but this is just a reality of how this works is, and I said this earlier, but they hire people who are very competent, maybe even not, but like let's assume very competent software engineers who worked at cool companies, and they trust that, so they put their belief in that. That's not really vetted because they can't vet, right? So you have a non-technical person who gets someone they believe can be their CTO, because typically a lot of people can't get someone who has a track record as a CTO, so they get someone just under that who's like very senior or not, or just like someone who they just think is good for whatever reason. And then they get them on their team. And what happens is this person, like this isn't clear that they have to be this. So they just be a guy who's like getting you from point A to point B, and they're not truly taking ownership. And it's okay to be a senior engineer and obviously take a CTO role and crush it. But what I'm saying is a lot of co-founders just don't know how to vet that, and they don't know how to build that trust and to have an actual relationship that's that way. It's about the relationship. Okay? It's not about anything else. Repeat after me. It's about the relationship. Okay? All right. I, I'm not trying to I'm trying to make that very clear because that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is sometimes someone who's not very technical, if you have a good relationship with them as they're your CTO and they own it and they deal with it, they can rise to the occasion because they're fulfilling what the connection between you two have. Like they're fulfilling that. They're fulfilling their role. Okay, so let's get into the trust. Let's get into vetting. Okay, let's get into that. Whenever you have risk, you have trust. Business, business, risk, and risk begets trust. Okay, all right, the basics, right? Okay, so how to vet someone to be a CTO? Someone I can't like write because I'm an engineer. So, all right, to be your CTO. All right, I said vet in caps. Dang, maybe I should have went to school. All right, all right. So how to vet someone to be your CTO? How do you do this? So a couple things. If you're just from zero zero, let's assume you're from zero zero. You like don't even think about, don't ever give equity without a technical advisor. You need a technical advisor. Don't like don't do anything. Like right now, find out how to get a technical advisor. And if you can't do that, you're not gonna like your business isn't gonna work out. You need to get scrappy. You need to network. You need to learn how to like. This is a basic thing. You need to know someone that is good that you like can trust their opinion. You can get their opinion and trust it. You need that first. Doesn't need to be a CTO. This could be someone that you have like a 1 hour call with. It could be someone. It could be someone that is just like a software engineer. It doesn't. They don't need to themselves be. They could be like a really good college student. Maybe not. Maybe not. Well, maybe don't do that. Don't do that. But you get the point of me saying that is that just get someone who's technical, right? You need to have someone who's technical who can vet them. Okay, you do need that. You need someone who first. So it's a couple things. It's a couple things. So it's first. This is school, by the way. Like this is how I want to make these streams. This is how I would want my schooling to be. You know, because it's my school. Like, I'm not gonna say it sucked, but like we'd have times where they're talking, and I'm like, "Oh, you think I'm like retarded?" Oh, and then I'll look and I'm like 16 already, so like I'm a grown ass man essentially, or close to it, and I'm in this backpack, right? And I'm just like looking at, and I'm in this little desk, and I'm like, "Oh, you guys think I'm like genuinely stupid?" Someone's got a chip on the shoulder. Okay, so here's a couple of things about this. So don't ever give equity without a technical advisor. So the technical advisor, one, they need to be able to educate you first. So before you do anything, get educated first. So, and two, they need to actually be on a call with you with the CTO you're vetting. Okay? Let's keep that. Let's keep that bold. Let's see. They usually say, reading the chat right now. They usually, hey, what's up, Reed? Let's see. They usually say you don't involve one of your close friends in your business, and I agree. Yeah, I think so. But the question is, how do you find someone you trust? It's not about, when I say trust, it's not friendship. It's not friendship. You don't, since you founded a startup, how did you do in your case? It's, trust isn't about, friendship, right? Trust is, uh, is mostly like, do you believe this person can do the job? Because there comes a point in life when you have to do work without fully knowing everything. It's the almost like there's like a knee jerk reaction to be like, oh, I have to know everything because that's the normal common world. The normal common world is, oh, we have to, yeah, yeah, definitely. The normal world is like, I have to know everything to do something. You'll never be in that situation, and when you have to get results and get things done in shaky territory when you have scarce resources, right? So you have to at some point be like, I think he can do it. I don't know, but I think he can do it. So when we talk about trust, we're talking about competence. You have to have trust in their competence and their follow through. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. The main way I vet that is essentially like over time, I sort of just try to know people over time. And I have faith in my discernment over people. And I take risks with people 100%. I put things on the line so I can see how people perform. And, um, and it's not easy because sometimes people can perform poorly and then that shows on you. And that's happened to me before. And you can have a very, net like that can be very negative, right? So there's always when you're putting trust in people, there's always risk. But Sometimes it ends up very good though at the same time. So it's about discernment and it's about investing in relationships. You do need to shit test them 1000%. Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So okay, cool. Any other questions about this stuff? All right, cool. So understand, like the technical advisor needs to do two things. You have to get a technical advisor. Like it's not even a debate. Like you have to get someone if you're non-technical. Okay. I mean, you don't have to. I guess maybe I'll correct what I'm saying. You don't have to, but you should. Let me correct what I'm saying. You don't have to, but if you don't, you will eventually have to, right? So you can do the math on that. Like you don't have to, but you'll eventually have to, right? And you may luckily get a good technical advisor, you know, but do you want this to just be like willy-nilly or do you want to have a process, right? Okay. So the technical advisor, what else do we got here? What else do we got here? I wrote some stuff down. I'm looking at. Okay, so vetting someone, don't just look at code. Get someone to look at code. It's not code isn't like you can't it's not code is doesn't work like that. You don't really know the background on why people solve code. It's not really fair to look at like someone's GitHub and be like, can this guy be, you know, it's not really fair. You don't know like the types of problems really. The thing is like you'd have to really be a good engineer to do that, and you're not because that's why you're looking for a technical advisor. Okay, so I would say don't just like look at code and like look at things like that. Um, get an advisor. Let me just make that. I just want for the visual of all of it. This is the main thing. Get an advisor. Advisor. You have to get an advisor. You have to like these 2 points are very important. They should be on the call. They need to educate you first. You need to be educated. You do need to be educated. And you can educate yourself, right? Some of the best founders I knew were people that were a little headstrong. You don't have to educate yourself, by the way, but like try to educate yourself. But you can try in your field. You should try. You don't have to, but you should try to educate yourself. And then that might take time, right? So it's like time. It's really a lot of this is a timing thing, you know. See, Will, why did you start a company? Independent. I like to own my time. I like to own my time. Yes. The more risk you take on in your life, the more you own your time. The not. Should we talk about nine? Because I think I'm kind of done with this. Let's talk about 9 to 5s. Should I do that on a different stream? But yeah, do you guys get it? Does anyone? Do you guys have any like questions about any of this? I think that's about it. So overall, let's get the overall. The overall here is to vet someone to be your CTO. You should get an advisor, and you should get have that advisor at both educate you and co vet this person on a call. Right, that's the main thing. Another thing: software engineers are not CTOs. Software engineers are not CTOs. Okay, that's the way it is. That's it. The they can you should get a CTO that could be a software engineer. That would be an ideal. But what the CTO does is they take ownership over the technology. They do get you from point A to point B. That could be through hiring. That could be through. It doesn't always have to be them just code monkeying it out. I do think they should, by the way. I'm just saying the role doesn't require it. The CTO takes on their own risk, and they lead your technology, and they're on your team, and it's someone you trust. Okay, that's the main difference between just getting someone that can get you from point A to point B to getting someone who's actually going to help grow your business. For the long term. Already tired of the rat race, and I'm only 2 months in. Let's talk about. All right. We're good. You guys good? Non-technical founders, we're good. Let's talk about the rat race. Let's talk about the rat race. Hold on a second. We got some. I got some like choping, uh, hoping, choping. Um, shit is too loud. Okay, hold on a second. So, okay, let's talk about 9 to 5s. Let's talk about 9 to 5s. Things not charging. So, read in the chat. Let's talk about why people. What does it really mean to grow? Let's talk about what does it really mean to grow in terms of business, or in terms of your growth as an employee, in what that really means. Let's talk a little bit about that. We're in a different. This is different stuff. This is the after show. Definitely taking the independence route at some time, but I need to be patient. Yeah, be patient. Yeah, never operate out of fear. Okay, so 9 to 5s suck. 9 to 5 job. Why? Why? Like why? Like really think about it. Like why would that? Like it should be fine. It's not really that much time out of the day. Um, it's like 8 hours. It's a third of the day, but it's not most of the day. And you only get it 5 days a week, so you get the weekend, right? So, but that's still most of the week, right? So, one thing is, especially men, you operate on a 24-hour cycle. One other thing, this is probably the main reason why, like, owning your time is so important in life. You're operating on a 24-hour cycle. So, you have, let's see. So, partly why, when you have a 9 to 5 job, your day starts, your true day starts at 5 p.m., which is fine. Like if you did that 3 days of the week, that 2, 3 days of the week, that'd be fine. But when that happens multiple days in a row, really think about how much of the day you have. What do you have about, let's say, like with commuting and dinner, it might be to 7, it might be to 8, and then you gotta sleep. Like you might have multiple days in a row, 5, where your true day of independence starts or is only a couple hours, right? And people be like, "Oh, that's not a big deal." Okay, well, like I said, the 24-hour cycle isn't just, it's also your health. So a lot of reason why people can't get their health right is because they don't have enough mental energy to reorient themselves, because it's like you have a day where you pretty much only have 2 days over and over and over again, and then you have the weekend where you unload and you just reset, and then it's going to take you like a couple of days to reset, and by the time you reset, it's already like Tuesday in the next week. Okay, so you never reset. You need to have mental time to own your day. So let's actually get into but so here's a little thing about the 9 to 5 thing. Let's see. Reed says in the chat, I'm constantly fighting the feeling of that monthly salary that gives me the illusion that I'm set financially. I don't know if you get what I mean. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. So let's talk about it. Yeah, it's not being. No. That's not being set financially. So it's So in order for you to do the 9 to 5, you have to be making less than you are owed. By the way, this isn't. I'm not like anti-capitalist or whatever. I'm just this is the reality of how it works, right? So the monthly salary you're getting is not technically as much value as you're providing. So let's talk a little bit about the relationship between employees and like, dude, there's so much to say here. This is what I was talking about earlier. So employees and business owners are always at odds. Trying to think of a good. Oh, let's talk about remote work. Yeah. Let's talk about remote work. This is a good example of what I'm saying. Let's talk about one thing. So I'm about to say something, right? So remote. So you know the beautiful thing about remote work. He's gonna blow your mind right now, guys. This what I'm about to say in the next few minutes is this. I really wish most people kind of thought this way because I think it really helps when you're navigating your career. So remote work is a lot better for an employee when it comes to their mental and physical health. True. Because you know why? Because you get to own more of your time. Because you own the parts of your day in which you're not like literally in meetings, right? So when you're not in meetings, you can kind of do what you want. Like you can go anywhere. So if you just have one meeting a day, you own your time kind of close to how a business owner owns their time. And now you're the business, right? You as the employee are kind of the business. Remote work is great. So it's great for employees. So let's do. You, you may see. I don't think you see where I'm going yet. I don't think you see that we're getting into a little bit of a philosophical thing right here. Good. So remote work is bad for business owners. I don't think you guys fully know that. You know that? That's partially why Mark Zuckerberg and all these like big tech people had that like discussion about, oh, actually remote work is bad for our business. And it is. It is. I know like a lot of people don't want to say that, but that's true. It is bad for the business. Like your business wants you in meetings so they have more control over your time because you're constantly at a struggle with when you operate with businesses where the business wants to take control over your time so that they can get you to be productive within your role. And the more productive you are within your role, the more they make money. And then, and you don't get all the money, you just get your wage, right? Which will always be less than how much you're productive so the business can survive. You understand? And you could be like, oh, that's bad capitalism. It's the relationship. It's the relationship between employees and owners. It's existed between people who do work and people who own the work. It exists in households. You understand? It exists. It's just a relationship that exists. You can't get rid of it. Okay. So it's remote work's bad for business owners. They don't make more money. They make less money with it. It's true. People are like, no, but and then people will use these examples of someone that took on a business owner that took on risks to do it, and got like lucky, or they had crazy VC funding. No, dude, it's not good for business. They need you there. So let's talk about this for a second. Reading the chat. If you were paid equally to the value you're providing, the employer is only breaking evenly on you. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So let's talk about this. So, okay, we're in a situation where remote work, where it's good for you, it's good for your health. Let's talk about the 24-hour work cycle. You don't get to have that, like, you only own 2 hours of your day every day for 5 days in a row. And then all of a sudden you're like, I didn't get sunlight, but I can't do anything about it. Right? You don't get that with remote. So what is that? What does that mean? That means that the relationship between employee and business owner is always in conflict. And that's okay. It's not bad. I know a lot of people, this might be a grown up thing if you don't like that. It's better to look kind of accept the reality of these things now than have life show it in a bad way, right? Like, you should kind of accept this is how things are. You're always in conflict. And I was always aware of that in my career, where I'd go into these businesses and I'd be like, yeah, yeah, like, I know full well that this isn't like, we're not a family or whatever. Like, I'm sacrificing certain ownership and independence I want, so I can get money. And this business is not like my friend. We're at a conflict. The things I want are actually different than the business. When you enter a business, it's kind of like war. There's rules of engagement. There's legal things you have to deal with HR. It's almost like you're entering in like a conflict with a foreign nation. You understand? So it's the yin yang. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, commenting guy gets it. Let's see. Shrink the size of your office and hire more employees. I don't think it's that bad, isn't it? It's not about being bad. None of this is bad. By the way, this isn't. This is actually good because this is how the world works, right? Um, the business cares about surviving and growing. So let's talk about growth. Let's talk about growth. So business cares about growth. This is also good advice, I think, for if you're like thinking about hiring and stuff like that. So let's talk about. So what I just said. Apply that to this too, because you want to know how you actually get independence from your job. So, like, independence, how to get independence in the 9 to 5 track, because we have to understand the givens, and then once we understand the givens, and then we can do something with it, right? We can make a proof. Okay. So how to get independence in the 9 to 5 track. So understand your growth potential. Growth potential is equal to the risk you take. You understand? I want to make this. Let's just say risk. Let's just say risk. I feel like it would benefit a lot of like kids to play games with risk. It's so important. So growth potential is risk. So in your business, like, partially why people don't grow in their careers because they don't take risks. The business is going to give you things. So the business gives you a plan to grow. You want to blow your mind? You know how you go talk to you do your one-on-ones with your boss and all that, and he gives you a plan to grow, right? You want to want to say something that you maybe never thought of? The plan is not made for you to grow. It's made for you to do the opposite. Okay. You're like, what? That's so fucked up. And then, by the way, this isn't what I'm saying. It's not capitalist or whatever. What I'm saying, this is just, and I understand someone might be like, no, no, no. I want uh, the people I hire to grow, and it's you want them to do better at their job. That's what you want if you're like a smart business person. Okay. The reality is, so growth potential is risk. That is the actual hierarchy here. It's not the plan, because you know what the plan they'll give you? They're like, oh, you need to learn these skills. You need to learn all these skills, and all the skills are skills that will get you better at your job. And they'll say, no, but like you can educate and get a master's, and that master's will be to get another role there that they need to fill because they're constantly trying to fill roles, right? So the actual growth potential for your job is the more risks you take, the more things you're liable for, the more things you own. The real hierarchy is ownership. Uh, ownership is ownership and liability. That's and you know this because the people that run the business, that's what they're that's what they have the most ownership and the most liability, right? That's the whole thing. So that's the real hierarchy. And it doesn't need to be within this company. It's just for your own career. So as if you want to increase your potential of growth when it comes to money, I guess money is a good metric, but it's not just that. It's also like status. Like, are you someone of distinction, right? So it's all the real hierarchy is ownership and liability. That's what you should be pointing toward, in my opinion, pointing towards. So what the business does, the business can do. So let's take two things here. So the woman to blow your mind again. So these are two roads. This is road A, and this is road B. So then we get. I don't want to go too far. Hey, Tony Thompson, what's up? Thanks for becoming a member, dude. Thank you. Hey, what's up, Andranel? Let's see, guys. Like, subscribe, become a member. Thank you, thank you. Um, okay, so growth potential and risk. So this is, by the way, you may not like it, but this is just you gotta listen because this is facts. Okay, so these are the business can set up two different roads for you if they hire you. They can give you road A or road B. Road A is the road where is static and limited growth. This is what they want to do. And it's not every business. That's true, but I'm going to get into that. This is the default. Okay. The default is they want you to be static because they don't want to have to hire. They don't want to give you a ton of growth potential because guess what? As soon as you start taking on more risks and you start taking on more ownership, you're not going to stay there probably. You're probably going to require the actual skills to upskill and get a better job. Because the actual skills isn't just learning like this. I've seen this over and over again in like software engineers where software engineers will think that their career growth is learning new languages. Not at all. It's like that's what the company tells you, right? The company says, "Oh, for you to grow as a software engineer, you need to learn more stuff." It's and I'm not anti that. I'm just saying it's not true. The real way to grow is you have more people under you. You take on more risk. You take ownership over more projects. You know, that's actually like the growth potential. But often people don't really want that because they want you to stay in your role. So B is the company gives you a dynamic, high growth trajectory. So there are companies that do this, by the way, and you should probably work there. So it's not usual because of it's risky. With high risk and reward, the business gets more. So if the business gives you a higher growth potential, like, oh, you could be a VP one day. Like you could in engineering, you could be a VP one day. Start out here and they say that you could do this, and here's like actually how we will get you to do that or to grow. Not every company does that because once if they actually develop you on purpose to do that, you will not be doing that job in 5 years. You'll be doing a different one, and then they'll have to do more work to hire for to replace you, right? Why would they want to do that? Well, turns out there's a chance if you do that, you get people that will truly be leaders in your company and will grow your business faster because to get to B, all the work to get up this hill right here, this is all productivity that is making the business more money quickly. But it's risky because once you get to that level, you're like, well, I have more options now and independence. So I can go get whatever job and start my own company or whatever, right? So that's the risk. You understand? So this is the business's options for you. Most businesses do like figure out, you go and look at the business that you work for. Do they do A or do they do B? You should probably work for businesses that do A, in my opinion. Remember, it's a conflict between the employee and the employer always. And you, as the employee, want someone that is actually doing B. You want a business that's taking more risk for you. Understand? And like that, it doesn't really matter if that's like, thank you for the awesome work, inspiring. Thank you. Delegating work is the only way to grow. It's not the only way to grow. No, no, no. It's not just delegating. So it's it's leadership development. So owning things that you can't do is a way to grow. But innovation is another way to grow, right? That's so it's like if you make an innovative product, right? That's a when you do new products, and when I say innovative, I don't mean like it needs to be iPhone. I mean innovative for your business. So growth is typically when you're doing new things in your business, or you're developing leaders that can be very productive. So those are the best ways to grow. Does that make sense? Cool. So I know I got a little off topic, but you're asked some Reed was asking about 9 to 5 and talking about it. And I think this is very, very important. It's like really think about when you're at this business, like what is your growth potential here? If you're not seriously, like, I need money right now, you don't need to pick companies with A. You should really be vetting companies if they have B. You really should, in my opinion. If they have high growth potential, which is you can take on more risk at the company overall, which is like you own you more the more work you do, if you failed, you know how to judge risk? If you failed this project, there would be more damage at the company, right? That's really how you judge that. So that's the growth, and that's scary. And those skills transfer everywhere. They transfer everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Let's see. Does that make sense? Any questions? Any questions? Pretty much done here. I go to the gym. That was an hour. Nice. Any questions about that? Let's see. Yeah, nice. We got a member. Thank you, Tony. Oh, I didn't read this. But if your business has vision that can shift plus impact people's life, Well, I'm reading the chat. I know you guys can't see, but if your business has vision that can shift plus impact people's life, I think employees are willing to sacrifice a lot of things for the sake of it. That's true. That's true. Yeah, but the conflict's there. It doesn't matter. Those things don't matter, in my opinion. Like I know what you're saying when, like, because you're saying like people are willing to do more for the business and do all these things, but the conflict is always there. The relationship doesn't change, and you know why? Because will that person die for the business? No, right? And I understand because you'd be like, oh, well, a lot of people are willing to die for anything. Well, there's if you go to the extremes of things, you get to the core of it, right? And if you're willing to die for a business, you're retarded, right? You got to know how to sell the idea. Yeah, 100%, 1000%. You have to know how to sell the idea. You have to. Yeah. If you can't sell the idea, you'll never be able to retain anyone. No, you do. Yeah, you do. But what I'm saying is the business's real interests at the end of the day will always be different. It'll always be different. Because a lot of what you're saying of selling an idea, that's pathos. So that's the emotional argument. The pace is we don't in at the end of the day we aren't actually as emotional creatures as in my opinion as we are survival based. Um, the emotions like it's very hard to be very like not everyone feels a lot of things when it comes to like oh like I have to help this person if they're really hungry, right? See, funding is a big part of in your independence journey too. Yeah, it is. VCs can end up owning your company if it succeeds. Yeah, one of the best things to do. Yeah, back into startup. Thanks for bringing that up because now we can get into startup. Some startup talk. Um, so the best leverage you can have is competence and ownership. Not everyone wants to take on risks. Doesn't matter who's funding things because a lot of what VCs do is they're funding who can own different things that they can't. You know, they're in a high risk investment world. These VCs, so they're looking towards people that can take on risks and that can get the job done. There comes a point when all resources goes towards who is the most results oriented. So it's not so much about like the funding as much as it's like funding will always go to the best, right? See if well, no, it's true. It's true. Yeah. In my opinion, I think it's true. But that's sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes it can be people that are like dark, you know. Um if you rely on your own pocket for everything, you that's not good. That's not good because you'll be working yourself into essentially you won't ever be competitive and you'll always be punching up. Let's see. Also, humans are easily malleable as they end up accepting VC's money if it means sacrificing. Yeah. Humans are, yeah. People are typically they're very, once, like, a lot of people think they're good until they've had the opportunity not to be, you know? A lot of people, it's like, I don't want to pass too much judgment, but I've seen that though. I've seen that too. Because sometimes it's just you haven't had certain situations happen. You know, it's like which is why it's really good to like know thyself, right? That's super important. All right, guys, this was good. I got to go to the well, actually, I got to get on a call first. Then I got to go to the gym. All right, see you guys. This is fun. If you're, by the way, like, subscribe, share. If you're a startup founder, share this with your startup friends. If you're a software engineer, if you're in this situation, and with the 9 to 5 stuff, really think about that. I think that's important for a lot of you guys because a lot of people ask me questions about what to do in a 9 to 5 and like how to manage that, and it's always like a misunderstanding that it's not good for you. Like it's not. 9 to 5s are not good, right? And that's okay. But you have to understand, or you have to understand whether you want to take on that or not, right? And it's okay if you do. If you do, it's not a big deal. Like I'm like it's a, but just understand like you're not really gonna like owning your time is good.